I would like to welcome you to the Ezra Bessaroth Ladies Auxiliary Sephardic Learning Kitchen. Today, our presentator is Marlene Souriano-Vinikoor, and Souriano-Vinikoor, and she's going to demonstrate the yaprakes that we make in the Sephardic kitchens. So go ahead, Marlene.
Oh, before Marlene starts, I'm just going to again welcome everyone and let you know if you do have questions, you can post them in the chat, and I'll interrupt Marlene if necessary, so that everyone can follow along, especially if you're making it along with her. And I think and I'm going also to spotlight Marlene's video right now so that everyone can see her. One last question, is to let everyone know that we are going to record this, and so just for everyone to be aware that it is being recorded and will be posted on the on the Ezra Bessaroth website once we're done.
Stephen, how do I get my picture on this?
Okay, so can everyone see Marlene now spotlighted on their screens?
Yes, we can see you.
Where it says share content?
And also just to let everybody know that there is a link posted in the chat. That if you click on it, it will give you all the ingredients.
I did that.
As well as the directions. And can everyone please mute themselves?
See?
Okay, Marlene, thank you so much.
Okay. Well, buirun na vuestra casa, cocina.
Okay, good.
Welcome to our house and my kitchen. I am Marlene Souriano-Vinikoor, and today I'm going to be making yaprakes de arroz. And I'm going to talk a little bit about yaprakes per se, because when I decided what I was going to make, I thought, well, I'm going to research this a little and see the origin of the grape leaf and when it was used and how it was used. And I was amazed at how many cultures have used grape leaves for food as an edible entity. And I mean, the Middle East maybe is obvious, Greece, and the influence of Izmir, Turkey, the Balkans, Iran in the 17th century, Egypt. So it's been used for a long time, and the fillings vary depending on your culture. So the one that I'm going to be making today is a vegan option. It's gluten-free because it uses rice, no dairy products, so it's ideal for people with dietary issues. And it's fairly healthy. And this version is also usually marinated and served cold. There's another option that my mother used and I've made before, which is stuffed with carne y arroz, meat and rice. That one is more of a comida, a hot meal, an entree. And it was used, at least in our house and the way I made it, it was used over a bit of habitas, over beans, and the beans are cooked in tomato sauce. So that has a nice presentation, and that's something you could make as an offshoot of this. Once you master this, you can put anything you want in them. The leaves per se, from what I've researched, all grape leaves are edible, but you don't want to eat them raw. Just for the sake of comparison, today I picked a grape leaf from my neighbor. She doesn't know. This is about the size you want. And in the spring, when they first come out, they'll be bright green like this, and they'll be tender. And that's the size that you want. So if you're going to use the leaf itself, fresh leaves, I would recommend getting them in the spring when they're the best. This is also already getting old. And then you parboil them so that the color comes out and the smell comes out, and make sure like I put them in a stack, and then I would like separate the stack and turn the middle onto the bottom, just so all of them are cooked. And then you parboil them and then you cool them, and then they're ready to go. And very easy. For the sake of our practices here, I got this jar grape leaves that are in brine. This is from Amazon. You can see the Galil brand. It has a texture. I know there's places in Seattle you can get it. The price-wise, this was the best deal. It's 32 ounces. And it was delivered, a few days later. So instead of shopping all over, you can get them at Goodies on Lake City or DK, or Pacific Food Importers is a good place for a lot of specialty items, also known as Big John's. If you want to go there, they're kind of easy to find. And so I think, just like in the interest of time, I'll start with the filling, or I would call it gomo. We call it gomo, like the filling for a Baracus gomo, so I would call it gomo. In the interest of time, we'll start on the filling, because then it has to cool before we fill the grape leaves. So what I'm going to do first, I chop the onion ahead of time. So that's another reason I want to start. You want to have it fairly fine. I wouldn't say grated, but fine, so that it doesn't pierce the leaf when you're stuffing it. So that's like the only criteria I would say. If you like it chunky, that's fine too, but keep in mind that it might tear the leaf and then the filling would come out. That would be a miss. So for a first timer, I would be a little careful to some of those kind of details. And I said about 2 tablespoons of oil. Now, I usually don't measure when I cook, so I'm not going to measure now. But 2 tablespoons isn't very much, but I find that the onions actually cook better if there's less oil. And then they caramelize, and they don't have to be brown, but you do want them tender. You want them to, I'm going to wait till this heats up a little. You want to wait so they're very soft. And it's sort of like a risotto, is that you're cooking this in oil, then you'll put the raw rice in, which coats the rice, and the spices that I have here and these other things. And they cooks all together. And at the end, we'll put in the parsley. Now, it's not a mistake to put the parsley in first. It'll just get a little wilted and change color. But if you like the vibrancy of the parsley, you would wait and put it in at the end. And I have an electric stove, so those of you who have gas, you might have a different way of starting this. I could hear it sizzle, so that's fine. So there again, I'm just gonna, by sight, I'm gonna figure out when it's ready to put in the rice. And one thing I remember growing up, our mother was a real Nakuchara. I'll go into that whole story later. But she always said, and I remember 2 things she always said: when you're going to cook, give yourself plenty of room and to clean as you go along. And I remembered that because, I have an adequate kitchen, but you can see how much stuff is here now. And if I don't want to have to run around when I'm doing something like this. You can also tell by the smell when the onions are going to be done. You do want to cook them a fairly long time. I'll talk a little bit about the grape leaves themselves. Because they're in brine, and I'm salt sensitive, I will wash them. They're ready to go. Someone asked earlier if they're cooked. Yes, they are cooked, and they're in brine, and the brine will tenderize them so much so that they might even tear. And this was so hard to get out of the jar. I have to tell you, I took it out with like a lot of suction. I took this guy, I stuck it all the way in there, and I slowly finessed it out. So it's in like 3 rolls. I don't know if you 3 rolls of leaves. So and they're very tight. So I'm making out 1 roll. We're going to make possibly 30, possibly. So I hear this now. I'm ready to put the rice in. That lowered the temperature a little, so you can see it's not sizzling as much. And I'm going to refer to my recipe because it calls for salt and pepper. So, and there again, this is sort of by taste. If you like things salty, which I don't, you might want to add a little bit more salt. I'm adding a teaspoon. But because of the brine in the leaves, I'm not going to add that much salt. And I ground the pepper ahead of time, so I know I have at least have a teaspoon here, but I do like pepper, so I might add more than what I wrote, which is half a teaspoon. And I'm going to do a variation on what the Ladies Auxiliary does. And that's, I'm going to put some dill weed in here. And this is optional, you don't have to do it. Some people put mint, and I put a teaspoon. It kind of adds a little bit of the sort of an acidic, fresh taste. Now I can tell, I can show you the rice so far. It's not sticking, but it's getting a little bit brown. I'm going to lower the temperature and put in the water. Okay, and this is going to cook about 10 minutes with the lid on. So, I didn't specify what kind of rice because it's kind of an individual thing. Growing up, I'm sure the only rice they had was white, whatever that is. So I'm using long grain rice. You could use jasmine, basmati, brown. If you're using something other than this kind of rice, you may want to allow more cooking time. Now, and this is, in case you don't know about Yaprakes, the method is to cook the rice twice. Once as the filling, and then once when you after you wrap them up, you go back to the, well, there's two methods, and I'll show you that. You go back and you cook them. So that's an additional time. So, okay, so I have all the ingredients. I did have another optional ingredient, which is pine nuts, if you want. I have pine nuts here. I'm going to use them just for decoration. I had some before. Somebody catered some food for us, and I said, oh, I want grape leaves. Well, I didn't tell the person the recipe, and they were very tasty, but they had dried fruit and nuts in it, and I bit into it and thought, well, that's kind of interesting. And then I was watching a Greek cooking show recently, and the woman was making Yaprakes, and she actually dolmas, because in Greek they're dolmas. And she used bulgur, which I thought was interesting, tomato, cumin, and coriander, and mint. So that's a different version. Going back to the word yaprak, that actually is a Turkish word that means leaf. And we've always called stuffed grape leaves yaprakes. But accurately, they should be yaprakes dolmasi, because dolma is stuffed. Stuffed leaves is what we're eating. So it's a stuffed leaf. And so I guess for a shortcut, they said yaprakes, and they didn't make the distinction meat or vegetarian, but I guess if it was meat, you'd say de carne. And I'm going to lower this a little because I can see this is going to cook. The other thing with this, at some point, part of making this and knowing how to make it is to gauge if you're going to need more water. I think I need more water. This is long grain rice. It said it has a shorter cooking time, which is why I chose this as opposed to the basmati, but I'm going to add a little bit more water. It'll just make it fluffy. The one kind of rice you don't want to use, I know from experience, is sushi rice. That'll be very gummy, and unless you like gummy, your products. And I wouldn't use red onions either because sort of a distraction, but that's a personal thing. So, so the other thing I was going to talk about myself, I guess they wanted me to introduce myself. First generation American. Both parents are born in Turkey. Our mother was born in Izmir, Rebecca Varon. Our father, Joseph Suriano, was born in Istanbul. They came here in the 20s. They married here in the 20s. My mother's grandmother, Madame Regina Varon, brought my mother and her son, Raphael, to the United States out of duress. But what happened is her husband, Yitzhak Varon, who I never met, my grandfather, he went off to war, World War I, never came back. And they waited and waited for him to return. And her brother, Rabbi Sabbatai Israel, said, well, I can get work in the United States or elsewhere, and you'll come with me. So after a period of waiting, and I read that it's 7 years by halakha, that you have to wait 7 years before you can be declared a widow. So she must have waited close to 7 years and then decided to come. And they went first to Haiti, must have been Jews in Haiti. Then they went to New York. Then he came here to Seattle, and he did have a post of some work at Ezra Bessaroth. So his work allowed them to leave the country and for her to get away from that tragedy. As a consequence, never saw a picture of my grandfather. And when my twin, Charlene, and I went to Turkey the first time we went to go visit my grandfather's brother, Oncle David, and he showed us pictures, and he said they burned them. They just got rid, it was too sad for her. And I think the reason they called her Madame Regina was because she was widowed as a 20-year-old, 20-something. And if I tell people who I am, the first thing they say, oh, is your grandmother Madame Regina? And as long as I remember, she was Madame Regina Baron. So, which is a title, an honorary title. And she lived with us until she died, and we were 9. And she and our mother, as I said before, were Nekucheras. They spent all day cooking. I can remember them. I mean, with such love. And it was a way of nurturing and connecting and sharing. And it was a way of life that they really enjoyed. And of course, I benefited from it, watching them. I can't say that they actually let me help in the kitchen per se, but I certainly benefited from watching them. And then the thing that I remember that was kind of joyous is they would take a break. They'd be cooking all day, and then they'd take a break, and I would see them go into the kitchen, and they'd have a finjan de café, a little café, and a cigarette, and they'd be singing. And I thought, they're probably singing romances, although our mother did like country western, so that, I don't know what she. Anyway, they were singing songs, and it was very entertaining as a child. I mean, in retrospect, it was, kind of a charmed childhood. And they also, because they were the kucheras, like homemakers and hospitable, they welcomed people to their house, and part of the way they shared their love with their friends was with food. And so food has been a big part of my life. It's one of the passions that I have. And I work in the food industry. I just recently retired from over 17 and a half years with Metropolitan Market. I was doing culinary and customer service there. And so it's one of the creative outlets that I have. I'm schooled in the arts. I have a BFA in painting and drawing, and a minor in Romance languages, which has allowed me to appreciate other cuisines and other languages and other people, and it's just really fascinating. So now what I'm going to do is starting to stick a little. That's not a problem. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more water and then turn it off. And then we'll let it cool a little before we deal with the leaves themselves and the marinade. Anybody have questions yet? I mean, I feel like I've been talking a little too much. And I would welcome anyone interrupting or having a question about something I might have forgotten.
Marlene, there is a question.
It's semi-tender. It's sort of al dente. And there again, it depends on what rice you use. So it wouldn't be edible necessarily. I mean, but we're going to cook. What you can do, if for some reason you didn't cook it long enough here, when we wrap them all up and cook them the second time, you can adjust it and cook it longer. And I think I'll go ahead and wash these now. Now these come in all sorts of strange shapes because they're just squished into that jar. And there may be some casualties.
Covering the rice, yeah?
Turn this off.
Are you covering the rice?
I keep it covered, yeah. So this is basically, this is a similar size to the one I showed you.
Can you show us again?
Yeah, this one. This was the fresh leaf, and they're put in the jar in a way that they're all shiny side together, and that's a side that's going to go down on the tray. And they do have, for the sake of convenience of pulling them, separating them, they leave a stem on all of these. And that's something I'm going to cut off because that'll tear the Yapraque over time. So now see, here's a reject. It's too small and it's, well, I can't use it. Here's one. Here's another sort of semi-reject. I hope the whole jar isn't rejects. Look at that. I paid for this. So I'm going to put these rejects aside and I'm going to use them for, I mean, I could repair it. That's the other thing. You can put one down, put this one over and use it. It's very, I mean, you can recycle. You don't have to throw them out. And in fact, what I've seen done is some people put the Yapraque leaves, when we're going to cook them, they put them down on the saute pan, make sort of a bed, and then put some on the top. And these have already been washed. They're ready to go. These, I don't know if I would buy this brand again. This is I mean, I don't want to say anything about dill, but you know, these stems are really long. And that could tear the leaf right in the jar. See that, and they're different sizes. See, this one's like too small, and this one's the right size. So you'll have to pick and choose what you're gonna. That's why. Here's one that's damaged. See, I haven't used these in general. Just get my own, and I can. This is, well, we got what we got. I did pick some leaves this summer. I parboiled them, put them in the freezer so that I can have them later. You can have Yapraques year-round as long as you think ahead, or you know, rely on the jars. But and here's another one. This isn't good for anything really. I mean, you wouldn't hold enough filling to make it. Here's another. Well, I might have to pull out another roll. That's why it's good that this is a 32-ounce jar, because you can take into account compromise somehow and use the damaged ones, or to compensate for it. So, and there again, you don't have to wash these. Muriel Thompson with the Ladies Auxiliary told me that when they use them, I don't know if they get them in a jar or a can, they boil them. There's no impurities that I'm aware of. And because these are in a brine, see, this one's too big. Too big. I might cut it. Because they're in a brine, they're gonna break down the fiber. And we'll see if I get 30 here, then I won't take out any more. But otherwise,
how long can the fresh leaves stay in the fridge? In the freezer.
Months. I mean, if you pack them well, you can do it for months. But you do once you thaw them out, you may want to cook them a little to revive them, because they could have freezer burn or some indication that they, you know, they've been frozen. So just in case we need, did I already talk about how I got this out of the jar? Oh, okay. Well, in the interest of time, open the jar up, and I saved all the brine water because I'm not going to obviously use all of this today. I'm going to put what I don't use back in here with the brine water and close it. But they have 1, 2, 3 rolls of leaves, tightly rolled, and they were so stuffed in here, I couldn't get them out. And I thought, I'm going to tear them if I force it. So I got this thing, and I put it, I don't know if you can see, I put it here on the side and gently pushed the leaves out, saving the brine in a jar. And that's how I got them out. So, I mean, for somebody that's new to this, you may not want to go to that kind of trouble. You may want to, I don't know, just buy them somewhere. That's up to you. That's up to you. But see, these are, okay. I'm going to transfer the rice. It's long enough.
How long has it been since you put your rice on total?
Okay, so it cooked for about 10 minutes, and then I let it sit for about 3 or 4 minutes. So it's very tender now. Too tender isn't a problem, unless it's mush. And if it's mush, then you just cook it shorter time there. You can offset what you've done and what you haven't done. And then well, I'll talk about the ladies auxiliary after I transfer this, because we'll let this cool in here. Now, to make it easier, I changed the order of what I put in the rice. Like a lot of times I put lemon juice in here, sometimes a little sugar. This is the, now I don't know if you can tell, how, Daniel, you want to taste this? It's pretty tender. I mean, it's pretty tender, but like I said, you're going to cook it again once it's rolled. So this is what it looks like. And then you could, even now you could do this. Put the, I said half a cup of parsley. If you really like parsley, go ahead, put more in. I like parsley. If you like pine nuts, you can put pine nuts in. If you like mint, put mint in. And because I was working full-time for so many years, something like this, which is labor-intensive, as most good Sephardic food is, takes time. If you don't want to do it all in one day, what I always did was I did it over a 2-day period. Like the first day I would prepare the leaves, you know, from scratch, cook them and cool them, then make the filling, and then cool it. And then the next day, form them and then cook them. And that goes really well. And then if you don't eat them right away, if for some reason you made too much, or, you can freeze them. You can freeze them and then sort of reconstitute them.
So Mona wants to know, what kind of rice did you use, and did you put any salt or oil in it?
Yes. Okay. The rice that I'm using is long grain rice. As I said previously, any rice is fine. Short grain, long grain, basmati, jasmine, brown rice. It just would affect the cooking time. So this was like the shortest cooking times. I use long grain. If you have a preference with taste, by all means use the rice that you want. And don't use sushi rice. That makes it too mushy, unless you really like sushi rice. And I mean, that's up to you as well. It's a personal thing. But so I'm just letting this cool a little bit. And then, okay, so the ladies auxiliary, which I've been a part of for a long time, that's why they awarded me with this apron. Prior to working full-time, I used to go every Thursday and help cook. And those women are experts. They don't use recipes a lot of time. They do everything by rote. And this is the lineage. This is the lineage that we are handing out to, you know, the next generation, because a lot of people don't want to make this kind of food. It's labor intensive. And this year, unfortunately, there was no food bazaar because of the pandemic. And they usually start cooking right after the Hagim in the fall. And we'll cook for probably at least 6 months, preparing all the wonderful things that they make, the barekas, the bulemas, sometimes boyos, yaprakes, saucepan, baklava. I know I'm missing something, but all the things that they sell at the food bazaar, and take orders for people. And because we didn't have the bazaar this year, that's one of the beauties of having this series, is that people can learn how to make these things in their home. As it was growing up, these things were not available to buy. I don't think they even had jarred grape leaves growing up. At least my mother never used them. They did everything from scratch. And that's why, unless you were like a stay-at-home mom or a homebody, you didn't have time to make this stuff. Somebody would make it for you. So that's kind of the beauty of you know, the ladies auxiliary. And so they had a big dinner a few years ago, and they were honoring women who had been you know, real involved, and I had been one of those women. And the irony of the timing is, now that I'm retired, I could be going every week, but they're not meeting. So I really appreciated being connected with the community via these kind of programs.
Hillary has a question. Did you
Yes.
rinse the jarred leaves off, or did
Yes.
you just drain
Yes,
them?
I rinsed them off just briefly because I read the I'm salt sensitive, so it actually says the sodium count is only 70 milligrams, but there is a sodium bisulfate preservative. So and it's sort of like capers. I'm not really partial to that taste, so I washed them off. You don't have to. You can use them as is. They're ready to go. So and then I should introduce the cameraman now. And again, when I decided I wanted to do this installment and I volunteered, I thought, I really should ask our son-in-law, Daniel Zana, if he wants to help me, because I don't think I wanted to do it alone. So he said yes right away. He's a professional filmmaker and a video editor, and he took it seriously. He brought his own iPad here and a camera. He came over last week and we did a whole lighting and audio thing, and he helped rearrange. This isn't how the kitchen usually looks, FYI. He helped to rearrange the kitchen and got rid of stuff. And I mean, if you think it's busy now, you should have seen it beforehand. And so he helped me tremendously, and he's given me input even as to what kind of thing I should wear for lighting purposes and support. So I have to thank him. I have to thank the committee that worked on this, Joanne Angel, Sholay, Carol Bihar's involved, Muriel Thompson, who's the president of the Ladies Auxiliary, and her great leadership. And I may have already said it, but I'm going to say it again. This is for all the women in my life, a tribute to them, homage to them, for their expertise, for their love of food, for nurturing us, connecting us, handing down these recipes, make me want to enjoy cooking in the house and sharing it with other people. And one of the great joys that I'm not really able to do now is to make foods like this and share it with people for the Hagim, for Shabbat, or just in general. I mean, like now, if I'm going to make 30 Yaprakes, I'm not going to eat them all. I'm going to dole them out to people. One friend gave me leaves from her yard, and she's vegan, so I'm going to let her have some, and and I welcome that. So at this point, I think I'll go back to the leaves. We'll see how cool this is. It's cool enough. It's it's a little hot to handle, but you can use it. In the interest of time, we'll just do it. Like I said, if you do it the day, that tastes good. If you do it the day before, it's really much better because it'll be a little bit, you want to make sure it's sort of congealed a little so it forms cylinders on the leaf and it's easier to roll, but this is fine. I wanted to showcase this stove. If you can see it, this blue stove, I don't know if you can see it. This was our grandmother, Madame Regina Varon's stove. It was a wood-burning stove. It had the hot plates converted to gas at one point. And when our mother died in '82, it was in her house in the garage, all the way in the back, and rusty. And so my husband Abe cleaned it up, and I bought it from the estate, and we brought it here. And it's pretty functional, even though I can't use it as a stove. I keep potatoes in there and onions, and I usually keep my microwave up here. And it's a real focal point of the kitchen. Very cheerful, and I like having it. And I'm going to just show some. Indulge me, because I spoke so much about my parents. Here they are when they got married, 1928. My mother, Rebecca Varon from Izmir. My father, Yosef Suriano from Istanbul. They were about 12 years difference in age. My mother never finished high school because my father didn't want her to be too educated. So she got married at 16, 17, and self-taught. She was schooled in an Alliance school, French school in Izmir, so she was fluent in French, and she spoke French at home. I mean, little phrases here and there. Father learned the trade of printing. in a German school in Istanbul, and he did a lot of printing for the community, well-known active members of the community. And this has been digitized. It's in the UW Sephardic Studies site that you can go to the wedding section, and this picture is there, in addition to some other things that they've taken an interest with.
Claudine wants to know, did you add lemon juice to your stuffing?
I didn't. I'm going to add it to the marinade, but you can. Like I said, I'm trying to kind of consolidate ingredients so that, like, I wouldn't want to say half here, half there. The dill sort of provides a little bit of a kick here, but I am going to use lemon juice when we cook them. So I think now, in the interest of time, I suggested a sheet pan or a tray to make them because it's like an assembly line. I like doing six at a time, and this fits perfectly. Got 6 leaves, and you roll it up and you put it in there. So I'm just going to make a little bit of room here. You might be able to see me do this, and if not, I'll move things around. So the important thing when you make yaprakes is use the right side of the leaf. You want the shiny side down. The veins should be up. So, and this is one of those, it looks like I'm going to have to repair a lot of leaves at this point. This one has a hole in it, but you're not going to throw it out. Now this one is very big. That's another thing. All these little extra things might take a lot of your time. See, this one is very big, but it's usable. And then I'll cut the stems off.
Can you move the olive oil cup over?
What's that?
The olive oil cup?
Yeah. Move it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for the marinade, yeah. So judging by the size of these leaves, I may not be able to get 6 at a time, but we're going to aim for 30. I think if you get a 16-ounce jar, see, this one's too small. This one's too small, but I'll combine it with another one. There's a lot of, so this brand seems to have a lot of irregular leaves, but I might only be able to do 4 at a time, but we'll see what we have. I had here's a reject here. We'll use this reject. The other thing that I learned from my mother is she's very resourceful. She recycled before there was a word for it. So she wouldn't throw anything out, and maybe to a fault that I'm sort of that way too. But if it looks like it can be usable even at some later date, save it. Like the brine, I'm going to save it because I'm going to put those back in there, and I think I'll make a batch of yaprakes with carne at some point this week. So this one is kind of small. So maybe we'll just do 4. See, this one has a tear in it. And I don't think this happened with my struggling to get them out. I think it's just the way they were packaged. So you might have more success with another brand. I don't want to steer you into getting something that's not going to work for you. If it has too many problems, I'm going to repair it with this. There. So then.
Marlene?
Yeah.
Someone is asking if there is an alternative to using grape leaves.
Use something else besides grape leaves.
Well, you could, but they wouldn't be yaprakes. You could use cabbage, I suppose. That would be more Eastern European. I've only used, even the Greek variety uses grape leaves, and that's what makes it unique. They're very tasty. Oh, the other thing I was going to mention, if you're going to pick your own grape leaves, I happen to have several sources for leaves, and you might want to experiment because they taste different and they work differently. So that the ones that I like the best have been muscat grapes. And those have kind of a sweeter taste and they're more tender. So if you have the option of getting, who you're getting your source, you could say, what kind of grapes are they? Concord are very common, but the muscat ones I found are the ones that I like. So I think we'll just start.
I'll zoom in here. Can you move your sugar bowl and your dill weed just over a little bit? Thanks.
You know, actually, I'm done with this except for the lemon, which I am going to. Oh, and I do need this.
Clear shot, but I think we're in good shape.
My cameraman asked me to move some things. Here. Okay, so here we are. This has been allowed to cool for quite a bit, so you'll find that it's much easier to work with. Cool, and that, like I said, it'll congeal a little bit. So I think I said a teaspoon. We're going to the recipe. I didn't say how much. It's going to be a kind of a cylinder shape. How much did I say? Well, anyways, I'm using this. This is like this is a cross between a teaspoon and a tablespoon, and you put it right in the center. And keep in mind, you're going to cook these again. They're going to expand, so you don't want to put too much because they'll explode, or they won't cook. And then, sort of like a diaper, you bring the left side over, the right side over, and you sort of keep left, right, until you can tightly roll it into a Yaprakes. I'll do more of it. I mean, we're going to do a lot of them. And then you put the seam side down in the pan. And so in a cylinder shape. This is one method of cooking them. You can put, I've always done it in a saucepan. You cook it right in here, as many as you can fit, and if you can't fit them, you put another layer. Or I think the ladies auxiliary and some of the other places put them in the oven, which is fine. You just have to remember to add fluid when you're cooking them. And see, this one has a hole too, but I think I can. This is going to set us back a little bit, but you can't risk a hole because the filling will just come out and all your work will be in vain. So here's one of those rejects. Some of these are too big, but they do have holes, so I'm just going to repair it.
I'm going to zoom in here.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
These two have been repaired. It'll just make them a little bit thicker. You probably want to put these, make sure if you're going to layer them, you put these at the bottom so they cook more. Because the one on the top one, this one I'm going to actually cut. This one's way too big. Okay, so there. So then, this is a sort of a cross, well, it's probably a tablespoon. And see, it holds its shape nicely. It's really, that's the beauty of cooking this and letting it cool. And then rolling it and putting it here. It's if you have these sheet pans, they're really helpful because you can do, like I said, you can do a lot at a time.
Did you oil the sheet pan at all?
No, no, you don't have to. The leaf itself is very moist. It won't stick. Some people might use parchment when they actually cook it, but I never found that I need it. Just the marinade, which will have oil in it, will. Okay, here's the stem. I forgot. There. So how am I up to? 100 yet? So now, you know, I'm thinking, Carol, might be a good time now if people have questions, or if anyone, especially from far away, if they want to introduce themselves or talk about their history with grape leaves or just themselves in general, I'd welcome that.
Okay, great. If anyone is, you know, not from Seattle, please feel free to either speak or write it in the chat and share it with everyone. We would love that.
Don't get intimidated. It's just food. It's the joy of cooking. I should say, when I decided to make this, I relied on several books. It's a composite of maybe 3 different recipe books I have, because everyone makes them different. And as you know, because in Seattle there's 2 Sephardic synagogues, even our food is different sometimes. We make things different. We have different ingredients. We have different names. So depending on how you were raised, and I was raised, our family were Sephardic Ikar people, the Turkish Sephardim, but now we're members of Ezra Bessaroth, which is the Rhodas Lee Sephardim, so I straddle both. And the Ladies Auxiliary, interesting enough, has both Sephardim there, which is nice.
You have people from Brazil, Queens, New York.
Wow.
Marlene, we have Lisa Jaffe, who's from Queens, New York, and Letitia is from Brazil, and another Eileen Milan from New York, Daniela Siaki from New York.
I would welcome you all in your native language, but I have to say buirun or bienvenidos, or what else would we see?
And then
I don't know what I say. The people in Queens, I just say welcome.
Myrna Barkey Mitnick says she grew up at Ezra Bessaroth. She's happy to join us today from Baltimore, and she remembers your mother with fondness.
Oh.
I think I may have met her.
Stephen.
And Stephen Chappelle is about to speak, I think.
Yes,
Well,
Marlene,
I can't hear what.
Can you hear me?
Yes, she can hear you. Yes,
Marlene, can you hear them?
Oh, I can hear now. I heard something about Brazil and Queens.
Marlene, can you hear me?
Yes.
It's Carmen.
Oh, hi, Carmen, my sister. Welcome. I love you. Thank you for coming.
I am getting the biggest kick out of this because I live this with you.
Okay, thanks. Well, this pandemic changed a lot of things, so this is better than nothing.
Yes, but the best thing you're saying is how Mom never had a recipe for anything. And when we would ask her, well, how do we make this? You know, the different cuajados and fritadas, and she'd say, oh, you add a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Exactly.
So in order for us to reproduce those recipes, over the years, I've collected different Sephardic cookbooks where they have, you know, and I have never in my life made Yaprakes.
Really?
Never.
Oh, I make them all the time.
No, I never made them, but once I was visiting Los Angeles, and I have a very close girlfriend there who's Armenian.
Oh,
and
sure.
She invited me to come to her house to make Yaprakes because she was having a dinner party for Japanese guests. And, you know, this way she had an extra pair of hands. And I said, why would the Japanese like Yaprakes? And she said, it's like seaweed and rice for them. You know, it's just a different cultural take on
Exactly.
Yaprakes.
And it's so, and researching it, it was so universal. I couldn't get over how many cultures use a Yaprak. And if you come from a larger city, you probably never have to make them because they're readily available. But I think
they sell them at Trader Joe's.
Right, Trader Joe's have. I also get Zergut brand, which is very good. It comes in a can. Some of them I don't like; they're too salty, or I don't know what it is.
Another point I was going to make is, Mom never froze anything because when we were growing up, the freezer was part of the refrigerator. If you remember, you have to open the refrigerator door, and the freezer was a little, you know, what you call it, like little door inside the refrigerator. It really never kept cold. That's why we never really kept ice cream.
But as long as my sister's reminiscing, I might interject. One of the consequences of loving food and entertaining and having it around is we were all fat, right?
That's right.
Right?
And we slimmed down when we grew up. But what I was going to say is the way she used to store them, maybe you don't remember, she used to, after they were cooked, she would put them in a Pyrex, put the caldo on top, and then put a couple of dishes on top of that.
Oh, as a weight.
Yes, a weight. I mean, this was before tin foil and saran wrap.
Well, but you know what? I just saw on a Greek show, a woman did it that way as well. She made them with bulgur dough, and while she was cooking them, she put some ceramic dishes on top. First, she put parchment some ceramic dishes for weight, and then the lid. So she was
Yes.
weighing them down. She said to prevent them from opening up.
Yes, well, they used to use wax paper in those days. That's all they had.
This is so far what I have. And put it in a concentric circle, and then I'll pour the marinade over it, and we'll cook them there.
Marlene, I'm just going to interject. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so more people have written in the chat. One says, thank you, Marlene. I heard about you from my friend Lily Golan in Seattle, and she is watching from Montreal, Canada.
Oh, wonderful.
And then Parker says, also, I'm in Montreal, Canada. My father was from Turkey, my mother from Greece. They met and married in Egypt. And he was born in Egypt, and they left in 1951.
So they had, I read that they had Yaprakes in Egypt. Or maybe not the equivalent, but something along that line.
And Denise Hill writes that my grandparents were from Izmir and Istanbul too. They first immigrated to Seattle and then moved to Los Angeles in the 1920s.
Yes.
And they live in San Diego.
Show how to wrap that again.
Yeah.
More people from New York. I'm trying to go through all of these.
You move the oil?
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, Marlene, do you want to tell everyone what you're doing?
Oh, I'm just trying to make, well, I'm rolling them. I've had to repair a few leaves, so they look kind of strange. But this batch of leaves are inconsistent. So for the sake of just showing you what to do and not get discouraged if this happens to you, you just save some of the deformed ones or oddball ones, and you repair the holes as needed. And remember to keep the shiny side down, because that's a side that you're going to eat and people are going
Can
to
you talk about the process of it?
Okay, so the process, which I did put in the recipe, is I liken it to a diaper, but you put the filling in the center. You sort of have to gauge, depending on the leaf size, how much to put in. And you sort of try to make it into a cylinder. You take the left side over, you take the right side over, and you continue folding left, right, until you get to the end, and then you roll it, and then you put it inside down. And so we got a long way to go, but I'm not going to make all of them just because I don't think you want to watch me all day. Maybe you do. So I'm going to actually see one of the downfalls of picking your own leaves is that invariably I'd always have too much filling and not enough leaves, and then I have to run outside, get more leaves, prepare them, and make another batch. So you sort of want to gauge the filling you have to the number of leaves you have, and it's better to have too much filling than too many leaves.
And how much rice did you cook?
I used a cup. And I use long grain rice. Normally I might use jasmine or basmati. It's just a little tastier, but it's your preference. Some people really like certain tastes in rice. One person wanted to know about brown rice, and I said, sure, use it, but it's going to have to cook longer. So just take that into account. And part of doing these as an experiment is that you'll learn what works for you. You may want to do something completely different with the filling. Now here's a real small one, so I'm going to use that to this guy. I'll put two together. And that way, yeah, that's a decent size now, but this is another reason why you might want to start sooner and do all this stuff ahead of time. I mean, if there's a time crunch, you don't want to be repairing leaves and doing all this other stuff. It's fine. It's less stressful if you give yourself enough time. So that, I'm going to use this guy to repair this one. I'm going to count how many I had just out of curiosity. I have 15. So I think I have enough for 30. That's what I had estimated. There again, if you get the 16-ounce jar, that'd probably be 30 maximum. If you think you want to make more, you probably want to go with this bigger jar, and it'll keep for a while, so you don't have to be concerned about that. So then you've left, right. I'll lift up this. These are quite tender, though. I mean, this is the beauty of doing this in advance. When you use the other leaves that you pick yourself, they're probably never going to be this tender. And one time, I by mistake, I picked the wrong kind of leaves, and oh, you couldn't eat them. I mean, you don't want to serve company something that's not edible. So you want to make sure that you have the right ingredient. You also might want to be, if you're serving it to people, you might want to know if they're salt sensitive or there's certain spices they don't like. Just if people have allergies. I don't think there's anything here really to. Okay. I guess we're getting close to the end. So I'll just do a few more so you get the idea. This was the marinade that I'm just going to put. You can get your lemon juice and use 2 to 3 lemons, depending on what you like. I like lemons. Anybody else questions or? I have an assistant in the wings who's ready to come in. And here she is. This is Orlizana. This is Yapa and Daniel's oldest daughter. Daniel's the photographer. And she helps me in the kitchen sometimes, right? Do you remember anything we made together?
No.
Oh, well, I took her with me once to the ladies' auxiliary, and she made her own bizcochos and her own, remember they were burritos. Remember that? And then she got to take them home, so that was really neat. She didn't have school that day. I guess that was why. Sometimes we were here and we made bollicos together. That was fun. We put the cheese on the dough, we rolled it up and cut little pinwheels. And
Hi, Orly. It's your other grandma here. I'm also making these.
Oh, Grandma Hillary's watching. Say hi to your grandma.
I'm making the same thing in my kitchen.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm thinking that some of you might be making this at home, so maybe you want to show your end results.
Michael wants to know any reason not to use store-bought lemon juice.
No, it just has a different taste. In fact, it's whatever you have. There's a difference. It's sort of a, I don't know, it's sort of a dull taste. Yeah. I have both here. And I'm adding, even though some of you might not, I'm adding a teaspoon of sugar. I like the yin and the yang, the salt and the sugar together. I'm going to see what I put in my recipe. Yeah, I did put 1 to 2 teaspoons. This is a 1/4 cup of olive oil. I'm looking from the recipe. 1/4 cup of olive oil, half a cup of water, 2 to 3 lemons. I lost track. Teaspoon of sugar. And that goes over the finish. You want to make one? Your hands clean? They are, for sure. Well, I can't tell. Okay, you want to make this one? She's going to show you how she makes it. You remember how we did it? It's sort of like this side, this side. You could go wash your hands real quick and come back, okay? She's going to come right back. So, well, it's nice having help in the kitchen. See, so I poured this all over the Yaprakes. Looks like the sugar is still there. You can add more salt at this point. You can add, there's a lot of things you could do with just your preference. This is basically just cooking the rice a little bit longer, making them tender. Where's my assistant? You want to put an apron on? Yeah. So my assistant is going to be putting on her apron. Wait a minute. Oh, where's your face? Okay. All right. Get up there. So, I mean, we're real lucky. We have grandkids who really love to cook. I have to say, I already said it before, but a tribute to my mother, my grandmother, my siblings, my daughters, my daughter-in-law, anyone who's touched my life with food and generosity, my good friends, Oh, here, I'll show you this way. This way. I've been very fortunate. I have wonderful people in my life who have showed me the beauty of, oh, look, she did this. This is great, Orly. She did it. Wow, I'm so impressed. Well, wait. Let's put it in front of you so you can see. I think it needs a little bit more rice. Let's put it there. Okay.
Yes.
Well, let's start this side. You can do it that way, but I like doing it over. Make sure this one's up and then over. Okay. Now, wait. And then we'll do it over again. Let's just keep doing it until it's really, okay. Now fold it up. Well, you can do that. Let's do it this way. Okay. Great. That's great. Did anyone want to show their finished product? I think it'd be nice that I could see. Right here. This one is sort of, let's find a nice one for you. That one's sort of, oh, wow, look at this, it's a big one. We're going to use this, but we have to cut this part off.
Gary Johnson is showing a picture.
Oh, okay. Somebody's showing us what they made. Here, I'll put the rice.
See who else?
A little bit more. Okay.
That?
Yeah, one side, and then hold it,
Hold it.
and then go like this.
Yeah.
And then and make sure it's a little bit tight here so it doesn't come out. Okay, now roll it tight.
Roll
Great job. I think you're a pro. Maybe you're going to help your mom in the kitchen now, huh?
What about me? I don't get any help.
Huh?
I don't get any help.
Oh, yeah, that too. Your dad does a lot of cooking. Sorry. Anyone who cooks, your sister.
it. More rice.
Yeah. You know what? I show you the finished product.
There's a hole in this one.
Yeah, I'll have to fix it. This is the finished product. This was the original picture for the flyer, but they couldn't get the best resolution, so I had to do it all over again. But this was the initial ceramic plate too, which I really loved. It was, someone made it in the art class at the Kleingallen home years ago, and it's probably over 40 years ago because my mother was in the class. So that's how it should look. And these have been marinated. You may want to put a little bit more oil, more lemon on those. It's sort of, it's what your preference. I wanted to mention.
Once they're all rolled up, what's the process over here?
That's the finished ones go in there.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's.
And how long do those cook for?
Okay, so in the recipe that I sent, maybe some of you didn't have their, here, let's see this big one.
There's a hole in it.
Yeah, I'll fix it. The recipe is like another 10-15 minutes. There again, it depends on how tender you like your rice. That's one that hasn't been cooked. Another 10 minutes to cook it, and then you marinate it again if you want with olive oil and lemon and more parsley and where do I find my pine nuts right here. The pine nuts.
Can I have this one?
Yeah, let's open it up. Wait, there's two of them there, see? We have to cut this part off because that will tear the leaf. Can you open it? There.
Yeah.
But there's two of them, so. But these are puny. Let's put two together. Let's put that one and then put that one there. So I'll give you rice for that.
Now let me go like that.
One side.
And then
Yeah.
that.
This one was a little bit hard because it was two of them together. Okay.
And then you go like that.
Make sure it's tight. Good job. You're doing it.
All
Yay.
right.
Thank you.
This one?
Well, we could do this one. Here, let's do this big one because that one's already ready. Wait, I did have to say, I said the places that you can buy the leaves, which are,
Sitting in here.
yeah. So in closing, I want to just say thanks to Daniel again for being such a good sport and helping me with all the aspects of this and reassuring, and some of my good friends who cheered me on and gave me some advice. And I've done everything that one friend told me to do. She said, Marlene, wear earrings, don't talk too much, and don't cry. So I said, 2 out of 3 isn't bad. Oh, that's good. Well, that one's, wait, you know what? this one has to be done a little different because it's going to open. So let's do it there.
And how long do those cook for in the
These
pot?
cook like 10, 15 minutes, depending on the kind of rice you use.
Okay.
So, and then I have to thank Abe and the girls and our son, everybody who are guinea pigs for my creative outlet. And I've made some real interesting things that, oh, they were all edible. Nobody got sick. But, over the years, I've done, it's sort of an offshoot of whatever I like to do, that food is another one of those areas. And the importance of food, it's not just about eating, just like this show isn't just about eating or learning how to make food. It's, yeah, that's pretty, well, you know what, I'll show you why this isn't good. Or we can do it better, because look, it's gonna come out. So we go like this, we have to close it up a little bit more. Yeah, there. Okay.
Thank you, Marlene. I'm just gonna ask, did anybody make it along with Marlene and want to show their finished product?
Yes, I asked if there were anybody, somebody did.
Yeah, someone did.
This is McKenna. I can put it, I can try to show.
You want to
My
see?
mom made it as well.
Yeah, who, maybe someone can talk about
McKenna made it.
if they had a different kind of Yaprak. Oh, wait, that's the old one. Wait, you want to squeeze it in here, maybe?
Yeah.
Let's see if this works. Real hard.
I spotlighted you. Can everybody see? Oh, that's great.
This one.
I don't think we need that one though. Let's do this one. Goes the other way.
Thank you. Did anyone else make it along with Marlene?
I did. This is McKenna.
Oh, hi, McKenna.
All right, McKenna, I'm coming to find you.
Okay.
McKenna was saying she hadn't made them before and she wanted to learn. So I hope you learned.
I did. Yeah.
Okay,
And I
oh, there we go. Is this, no, where's McKenna? One second.
I would welcome anyone's comments in terms of a survey. If there's something that would help them, if there's something I failed to mention or something and they need more advice.
There we go.
Oh, wow.
Can everybody see? Wow, that looks amazing.
Let's do it here.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If you're going to be using meat with it, do you have to pre-cook the meat as well, or what?
Yeah, I was gonna address that, but I didn't know if anyone went. No, we don't need it anymore. With the meat part, you actually cut the amount of rice. You only put like a quarter cup or half a cup, depending. Like anything you would stuff with meat and rice, and stuff tomatoes, onions, zucchini, anything like that. I would suggest you cook the meat first, put it aside, then cook the rice and combine it, because they cook at different times and you want to make sure the meat is cooked thoroughly. It's not like this is vegetarian. There's no danger if you don't cook the rice completely, but there is a danger if you don't cook the meat completely. So you could use ground beef, lamb, whatever, chicken, whatever you want, turkey. Turkey maybe not so good, but that's a good question, because, and I welcome people to try that. I think I'm going to use the recipes to make a meat version. Oh, and then like I did say, I'm not going to repeat it. Any leaves that you don't use, put back in the jar, and I saved the brine. And this will allow you to keep it in the fridge for a long time and use at your leisure. So, but when the ladies resume cooking, I would encourage you to patronize them and or just get involved and come and help cook. It's a lot of fun. You'll learn a lot.
How much meat to a quarter cup of rice?
About a pound. Yeah. Well, it depends on how many Yaprakes you want to make. If you want to make about 30, let's say you have a 16-ounce jar, which has about 30 leaves. You want to make 30. You're actually going to make more than 30 that way, but well, at least a pound. Oh, and the other thing I meant to mention, with the carne version, there's a lot of good plant-based products on the market now, and I've bought quite a few. They do have a specific taste. You might have to adjust the spices or something, but you could make a vegetarian version of it, and it would be really tasty, and you could still do the recipe without having to have meat. So does my assistant want to say anything? Do you like these? Do you like these things? Yeah, she likes them. The last time she said I put too much pepper. And I think I used I use it. Yeah, the last batch wasn't very good. These are going to be better. I'll give you some to take home when they're done. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can use the leaf. The whole leaf's edible. And anything anyone wants to ask me before we sign off? Oh, well, you put them in a concentric circle like this, and I put a marinade, which is, see, some of you didn't get the recipe. The marinade is like a 1/4 cup of olive oil, 1/2 cup of water. I put a teaspoon of sugar, 2 to 3 lemons, or the equivalent of lemon juice, if you really don't want to go that route. And then, yeah, see, I didn't put any salt and pepper in this part, but you can, depending on your preference. So I think, in closing, I think I'll just say, salvadodos stay a stage, that you should all be healthy. You should come con gana, eat with enthusiasm and gusto, and support the Sephardic ladies who make these bendichos manos, the blessed hands that make these, and appreciate their time and effort, and via the ladies auxiliary, or just at home, your grandmothers, whoever makes this food for you, or probably a renaissance of people who are going to be making them now, I hope. But thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Marlene. That was
You're
fantastic.
welcome.
And I know that everyone was...
Welcome. Oh, wait, I just want to show one thing. Daniel said he was going to focus. I have a painting. I have one of my paintings here in the kitchen that's appropriate because it's a vegetable. So I paint a lot of vegetables, or at least I did. So that's one painting he said he would sort of zero in on.
Also the fridge?
Oh, well, the fridge, or the decals in the kitchen. The decals are a stencil I made, so they're animals.
She had a person with a vegetable hat.
Oh, that's a nice poster. That's from a farmer's market. Yeah.
Did you paint that one?
That one I did too, yeah.
But that one?
No, I didn't paint that one.
Okay.
Okay. So I think we're just gonna sign off now.
Is there anything else?
Any more in the chat? I'm going to try to save this chat for you, so you can see what everybody says.
Be sure to tune into the next segment. I think they have people lined up through January. Very informative.
I want to leave.
Okay, here, this one will be yours.
Okay.
This one has a hole in it. That's gonna be.
This one's a hole in it too.
Yeah, but I think I covered it.
I guess we can.
There.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Merci mucho.
Thank you, everyone.
With a hole in it.
Oh.
Thank you all.